our in-depth look at the major candidates running for U.S. Senate in Ohio.
So last night I chatted with Democrat Sherrod Brown, who's trying to get back what he lost in 2024. Tonight, my conversation with current U.S. Senator, Republican Jon Husted. By the way, the interview was done a week ago before the Saturday shooting death of that ICU nurse protesting in Minneapolis.
Get out of the car.
Instead of getting out of the car, 37-year-old Renee Good is shot and killed by an ICE agent after starting to drive. I asked Ohio U.S. Senator Jon Husted about the deadly encounter in Minneapolis, leading to emotional debate.
It's a great tragedy when someone loses their life. It was heartbreaking to see that incident. You can understand, though, when a car of somebody who is interrupting an ICE operation sort of lunges at you. It's just a sad situation that occurred. But they're just doing their jobs. I mean, ICE agents are moms and dads. They're our neighbors just like everybody else. And they're trying to protect us.
Your feeling about federal agents and ICE going into different cities and essentially rounding up people who are not here legally. What are your thoughts on the policies?
We have 11 to 15 million people who are not properly vetted all across this country, many of them murderers, rapists, drug dealers, and they don't raise their hand and offer themselves up to ICE for deportation. They are hiding in our cities, particularly the sanctuary cities and states that protect them. There are people who are trying to protect them from being arrested and deported, and ICE has a very difficult job to go find them, to round them up, to arrest them, to bring them to justice, and to deport them if they're here illegally committing crimes.
Senator Husted was appointed a year ago when J.D. Vance became vice president. The longtime Ohio Republican has served as a state rep and lieutenant governor. To keep his seat, he'll have to beat Democrat Sherrod Brown in November, a man with 50 years of political experience who served 3 terms in the U.S. Senate.
The last 32 years he's been there. I've been there less than a year as of right now. And the contrast is pretty simple. I represent Ohio values. He represents D.C. values. I've delivered for the people of the state. I know that he represents sort of the radical left point of view, and I represent the common sense values of the people of Ohio. I think that there's a clear difference between how we view things. And I think that the voters will see that as we head toward the election.
Education in the state of Ohio, if you look at most studies, it shows that we're middle of the pack to bottom third. What would you do and what will you continue to do as senator to turn this around?
The things that are going well are career centers. We're graduating more students from our high schools who are career ready because they're going to our career centers, becoming electricians, auto body mechanics, welders, people like that. Those jobs are not going to go away with AI. These are great success stories that we have in Ohio. We need to keep building on it. College is great, but college is becoming too expensive. And it's not necessarily the skill you need. Employers are hiring skills, not degrees.
We see you in Washington talking issues all the time. Senator Husted, if there's one thing you want people to know about you, the man, what would it be?
Look, I grew up in a small town in rural Northwest Ohio. I started out life in a foster home. I was adopted, and I got blessed to be around 2 parents that believed in hard work, personal responsibility, family, faith, freedom, and I'm just that guy. I'm just that small town kid still today, just trying to work hard and get ahead in life and hopefully fight for everybody else so that they have their chance to live their version of the American dream. But if I can get out in a tree stand and hunt white-tailed deer, or I can get to the lake and go fishing, that makes me happy too.
An Emerson poll released in December gave Senator Husted a 3-point edge. Expect a dogfight between now and November 3rd.
Senator Husted was offered a job, by the way, with Toledo football 35 years ago by then head coach Nick Saban. That's right, Husted turning down the man who would become a legend to follow his dream in politics. He says he loves sports, though, because it's a microcosm of life, the discipline and the life lessons. He said you get knocked down, you get back up, something that comes in handy as a politician. The interviews with Senator Husted and Sherrod Brown, by the way, can be found on our website, WLWT.com.